Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to Roots Refuge Farm. I am testing a new camera setup out today. Normally, I vlog with this. And yes, this is as heavy as it looks. And so normally when I'm vlogging, I'm holding this camera, I'm setting it up with this tripod. You don't ever see it because obviously it's recording. As you can imagine, this is really cumbersome. I get asked a lot about my vlogging process, my camera setup. I don't really address that a lot, even though I get asked a lot about it, because like that camera setup, people say, hey, I'm trying to get started. What camera do you use? I do not recommend that setup for a person who's trying to get started. Honestly, the camera equipment that I have is largely because I was a photographer for a long time and I'm kind of like a nerd about that stuff. But today I'm trying a new camera. We're gonna go around the farm and do a little bit of a vlog, which I'm going to be figuring out new equipment and we'll see how it goes. But I also just thought maybe it would be a good time to talk a little bit about kind of the content creation side of things. I know that's not going to be for everybody. I don't know, you may hang around. It might be interesting to you, even if you don't personally ever want to create content. But I'm going to talk about some of the questions that I get asked occasionally regarding that. Let's go outside. So the camera that I normally record on is a Canon R5. I have multiple lenses with it that I use for both video and photography. It is a beautiful camera. It is definitely kind of shaky, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying this one. This that I am currently recording on is a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. They've been raved about in lots of reviews, and so far, I'm pretty impressed. I actually did some recording yesterday, just purely experimental stuff that I wasn't really planning on showing. One thing that I really struggle with in making content is the wind. Today it's actually blowing. Yesterday it wasn't, so I didn't really get to experiment hard on this. This set, I'll put a link to this one. It comes with a little lav mic. We'll see how we feel about that. One of my big struggles with making content is that when they cut all these trees behind my house out here, it actually created in the winter this prevailing wind on our property that's really, really difficult to record with. We kind of almost have to have cover from wind with my other camera setup. So that's not great, that's difficult. I have a GoPro, I've played around with the GoPro. Some people really like the GoPro because it's very wide angled and it keeps everything super sharp. So there's no like blurry background. As a photographer, I hate that. And so that just comes down to preference. And so I tend to not use the GoPro as much. It's a little bit touchy when it comes to multiple things. And I'll vlog with it a little bit and then I always end up going back to my big camera. So I was kind of hoping this one may be a good middle ground, something that would give me some sense of relief from having to tote around that big camera. I call these my vlog guns because I carry around that 15-pound camera setup, which doesn't seem like a lot, but like if you go to the gym and do lateral raises, you'll learn really quick that like those are some muscles that don't handle a whole lot of weight well. I'm just looking out here and one of my sheep is laying in such a way that is curious to me. So I'm gonna come take a look at her. She may just be sunning, but gosh, I'm just waiting for these sheep to drop these lambs. So I was trying to think of like some of the different questions that I'm often asked regarding content creation. And of course, people ask a lot about equipment. People ask a lot about time and time management. I do spend a ton of time creating content, obviously. And at this point, I get to do it like it's my job, which is awesome. It allows me to buy cool camera equipment and spend a lot of time on it. Oh, here comes Fern. She's always got to get her moment in the spotlight. For people who are just getting started and people go, what camera should I buy? If you haven't created any YouTube videos at all and you're looking what camera to buy, I highly suggest using your phone and making whatever it is that you can with your phone. And just make sure that it's something that you really want to do. You know, a lot of people record a handful of videos and they go, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, or I feel terribly uncomfortable and I really don't want to do it. You can do a lot with your phone. My early YouTube videos were on my phone, and that was back before phones were nearly as good as they are now. I would say right now, the average cell phone, the camera capacity for video on the average cell phone is so significantly better than the camera that I was using to run my first photography business. Technology's come a really far way. So Maya's milking, but I came out here because I'm gonna get his help. I noticed this morning that one of my little ewes is limping real bad on her front foot. It's been really wet, so I'm going to take a look to make sure she doesn't have any sort of like injury going on or just something stuck in there. This is the one that was all laid out. She is so pregnant. This is my first time to have sheep, lamb on the farm. And so I don't really know 100% what I'm looking for like impending labor. So I'm just stalking them every day and obsessing over tiny changes in their backsides. Hey girl. Hey. One thing I was kind of hoping to achieve with this smaller camera was maybe some more natural interactions with the animals. Because oftentimes whenever I'm out here with my really big camera, they're a little freaked out by it. And so they won't come around me. Whereas normally if I'm out here without a camera, they're all on me. So I'm kind of curious to see how they all respond to this small camera. Hey there, Carol. I think my biggest thing with content creation when people talk to me about like wanting to do it is that why. I think knowing why you want to do anything is obviously hugely important. And for many people, they just think, oh, this would just be a cool thing to do. We're going in the barn. These heifers are loud. And I'm not being saucy when I call them that. They actually are all heifers. Will was out here inoculating mushroom logs yesterday. I came in here to get away from the loud heifers, and look at this. I have nothing for you. You're silly. When you're hiding in a stall where nobody can see me. So silly. All right, so why? Why do you want to make content? Like, that's the biggest thing, because especially in like the homesteading and gardening niche, there are a lot of people doing this now. And another question people ask me all the time is like, can somebody still like hope to make a living as a content creator? And I think the answer to that is yes, but I think that having a reasonable expectation, and I think really knowing why you're doing it other than just making money, will help you get to that point. Because for a lot of people, it's like a long, hard slog in that direction, and if they weren't getting some other satisfaction or fulfillment out of it, they will probably give up before it became a very lucrative thing to do. So you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in order for a channel to get monetized and make any money at all. And that means a lot of people upload a lot of videos that they don't get anything for monetarily. Now, down the line, once they're monetized, they may get some residual income from those videos. But for the most part, you gotta have some other reason why you wanna do it. It's hay time for the critters. Hey there, Gabriel. Did you want a moment in the spotlight too? You sweet boy. I feel like the message of this video is going to be Jess looking for a quiet space to talk. But hey, on a positive note, we're running the new camera through the ringer. Trying it in all different lights and different places. For me, the thing I'm always wondering whenever I turn the camera on is how can I add value today? And you don't have to be the expert. Like, sometimes the way that you add value is showing up authentically. Sometimes the way you add value is showing up with compassion and care. Sometimes it is sharing the information that you know. Ultimately, one of the hardest things about showing up on YouTube is just being who you are, not feeling any pressure to try to be like somebody else. And that is something that I have had to really, really exercise on this channel. And even like starting my new channel, The Farmer's Table, I had to really get over the feeling of, oh, all these other cooking shows, they do all these cool transitions and this cool camera work, and they have great lighting, and they have really, tidy kitchens, and they're better than me. Like, I had to overcome these feelings when I finally was like, you know what? I'm not them. And so there are things about them that I may admire or think are really cool or wish were different about me. I mean, that's true. That's just the reality of looking at other people's lives. You may deal with all kinds of feelings, but the bottom line that you have to get to is I am me. as the only person I can be. And the most value I can bring is by showing up as me. If I try to show up as somebody else in what they do, I'm always just going to be being a subpar version of somebody else, rather than being the only person in the world that can be me. All right, it sounds like Maya's washing. Hey, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I was talking to people about content creation. And I mean, of course, you've been, in some regard, doing content creation somewhat, you know, through all the years with Roots Refuge. But, like, you really started your channel and have really been focusing on that lately. What would you say in regards to content creation, like advice or?
I feel like a lot of times people feel like they have to have like a defining point before they'll even get started of here's what I'm going to accomplish or here's what I'm going to bring to YouTube or this video or whatever it is you're doing. And I think I've learned, one, like you don't really realize the value that you're bringing just in sharing how you think about things or how you fix things or work through things. And then also, like, I think we also make a lot of assumptions that other people are the same. They view it the same, they'll solve it the same, they think about things the same, and I've learned that that's really not true. Like, just even explaining, like, why I choose a certain kind of screw over another kind, people have been like, oh, I never would have thought of that. And in my mind, initially, I'm thinking, like, this is so stupid, why am I saying this on YouTube? Help someone, so.
Yeah, that's
value
good.
in simple stuff.
Yeah. All right, thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Yeah, but what Maya was saying, I think is so, to my point, like you show up as yourself. There are things that you have to bring that are value that you don't even realize are valuable. Hold on, I gotta get the gate for Will. I'm trying to stay close so that when Maya's done, we can take a look at this U. But I'm also trying to stay out of the way of the noise. You know, as to what he was saying, talking about, there are things, I think really reiterates, showing up your most authentic self and your true self has so much value, and there's value you can't even anticipate being valuable. Like, for instance, when I first started making content, I could not have foreseen that COVID was coming. And that here, my chatty, you know, friendly idea of I really want people to feel like they're just popping in to visit with a friend, that was going to be massively important for a lot of people who are about to face like the greatest isolation of their lives. Like, you can't even see some of these things coming, but there's value there. Another thing that I so did not anticipate, because I have a background of a lot of brokenness, and Jeremiah and I have really have and continue to put in the work on being in a happy marriage and a relationship. And it's not always happy. Sometimes it's really hard to get through brokenness and damage and create connection and choose connection over winning arguments and stuff like that. I mean, we've done the work. We've gone through a lot of that to be able to create that. And people began to comment about, man, you guys are really nice to each other and you really like each other, and I can tell that. And at first I was like, yeah, of course we're married. But then when I really thought about it, I realized a lot of people really have never seen marriages that are 14 years old where people still like each other and kind of flirt and stuff like that. Some people have never experienced that. And when you think about what media portrays in TV shows and stuff like that, usually marriage is perceived as a nagging wife and an idiot husband, and they're always at each other's throat, and it's comic relief. And it just never occurred to me that was adding a lot of value for people, because I wouldn't have said, oh yeah, I'm going to start a YouTube channel so I can show off my marriage. I wouldn't have thought that at all. And it's not ever even on my list to do, to show how we parent, because I don't consider us an example of that. I just know that we're doing the best that we can, but for some people, seeing that has been beneficial. All of that to say, showing up as your true self, there are things of value in you that you can't even realize. Now, from a more practical standpoint of what does content creation actually look like? Always looking at situations and imagining what would be the story here? What could I show here? What could I share here? Could I turn the camera on? And sometimes adjusting, like for instance, if you're going to hold yourself to a standard of shooting so much per week, what happens when you have a cold and your voice is really scratchy and you don't want to talk very much? Those have been the videos that I just did a lot of time lapse of working. You know, I mean, are you willing to flex with the reality of your life and the hindrances that you're surely going to face? I'm sure there are more practical things, but I come back to the things about just be your authentic self. Another one is it's really easy to get discouraged from making any sort of content because you're going to nitpick yourself. This is why I show you my messy kitchen. This is why I show you my face with no makeup. This is why I just have crazy hair half the time, because it's just really what I look like. And it's really what my kitchen looks like. And if I were going to wait until I was put together, until my kitchen was tidy to make content, I would never make content. So if I set a standard of this is how much I'm gonna shoot, that's how much I'm gonna shoot. Now, I have grace, things come up. I miss times and take time off when needed. You can't do it like super hard and fast, but holding yourself to that standard is pretty important. I mean, you kind of have to be willing to do it like it's your job. Editing, I edit with iMovie because when I started, I had a Mac computer for my days as a photographer, and iMovie was the free program that was on there. That's what I learned. I've never learned anything different. So I've been editing on iMovie for 6.5 years. Anybody who does a lot of legitimate editing will laugh at that, but it is what it is. It's not broke. I have this year brought on an editor that is a local guy we'd worked with before, and he is helping some. He edits some of my videos. It's especially helpful during the really high season where I'm making a whole lot of content, and I'm also doing some traveling and different things like that, because I can drop the footage to him and he can get the video out. And he was very familiar with my style, and I appreciated the fact that he was willing to like keep it simple. That is one thing as a content creator, which I think this really hinges on being willing to be authentic and show up as your real self. But you got to find your sauce. You got to find your flavor. A really good example of this is Will, who works here. He has a channel called Honeybee Hollow Gardens, and he started it when he first came to work here. I said, have you ever thought of having a YouTube channel? And he was like, yeah, I've considered it, but I didn't really know exactly what I would share. And I told him, I highly suggest you do that. If you're going to be working here, people would love to see more from you. I told him you are more than welcome to film while you're here working. Something that I think would be smart to do, and you have a lot to offer. And he dove off into that, and I've been so, so proud to see his style come out of that. And it's completely different from mine. And it's really, really cool because we're not all going to do things the same. I'm real chatty. I'm real laid back. I am not the person to come to for a 2-minute tutorial, and that's okay. Somebody else is doing that, and they're probably doing a great job at it. And the people who want that are going to them, and the people who want this are coming to me, and the people who want what Will have are going to Will. And then Will's wife started her channel, which is completely different from his channel. And finding your sauce and your flavor, it comes back to authenticity, but like your editing style, don't feel pressured to edit videos and spend 8 hours editing and do all these transitions and all these overlays and all these different things. If you like that and you enjoy that and that's something that you want to do, sure, that may be where your sauce is. But if you don't like that, you don't have to do that to be successful. You need to do what is unique to you. This cow is always right in my pocket when I'm out here. Did the farmer spray you, girl? He hosed her down. It's so warm out here today. Another thing is thinking about marketing and promotion. Now, I have a strong opinion on this. It may not be right, but it is mine. I think that if you have a channel, small channel, whatever size channel, and you want growth in your channel, I see a lot of people in all the homesteading like Facebook groups I'm in being like, hey, can we do a follow for follow where you share your social media? You have people follow it in trade for following their social media, or people looking to do collaborations to get more followers. I like collaborations. I did a collaboration recently. And I'll do a collaboration when it is with people who I think my viewers would like. Now, if you take it back to always adding value, and you realize that like if you add value, that is how you find the people who value who you are and what you do. So you must consistently create what you can sustainably create, and then look to connect with the people who want that. Please don't eat my shirt. Ma'am, please don't eat my shirt. Come on. Hey, I need a bubble. Come on. Personal space. All right. Sorry. Even with the lamp, she gets moving when there's a feed bucket involved. Hey, nosies. All right. Yeah, she's pregnant. Can you feel him moving?
I can see it moving, and it's all on this side.
That's funny. Y'all know is in town.
Hi.
He's been working out of town here recently. So, thankfully, doesn't appear anything's broken. Doesn't appear like she's having any sort of like hoof rot. Her hooves look good. They don't need a trim. But I just spread her hoof apart a little bit, and there was definitely some compaction up in there. And I think that with all the wet and the mud, it's been raining a lot this week, she probably just got some compaction and it stinks. So we're just going to clean it out really good, the inflammation that she's having. I mean, I can't, there's no heat. There's nothing like obviously really wrong, which is good. I mean, it's like best case scenario if you see one of your animals limping that something's just stuck in there. Jeremiah's grabbing a hoof brush. I did grab something out of there that was pretty ripe, so brush it out without my hand, and I'm gonna get some soap on this really fast. Okay, girly. I know.
Something, but I'm not gonna do it today.
Gotcha.
What is that?
Wound dust.
Wound dust. So is she just raw from how wet it was?
Mm-hmm.
But I would, yeah, keep her in the stall so it doesn't get packed again. She's already limping this. I mean, she's still got a limp, but not like it was.
Oh, yeah.
Let's give her prize. This is like the lollipop it's like the lollipop at the doctor's office, but better because that's the appropriate diet for sheep instead of sugar for a child. All right, there we go. All right. I got a nice splattering of that hoof gunk up my face when you brushed it out this way.
It's still under.
With all of
It's still under your feet.
Were you watching the show? Were you watching the show? Nosy? You're the nosiest boy. He's so handsome. She's okay. They're all checking out, waiting for her. So in regards to like engagement, I really think those follow for follow things, or where people will say, hey, can I get some watch time in groups? So there are like content creator groups where people will share their videos and ask people to just let them play or whatever. I mean, okay, to what end? Is it going to get you to your goal of being monetized? Maybe, but then what? You're not going to make any money if people stop watching your videos. Like, I think, just my personal opinion, you can do those things, but if that's your plan to like grow and become successful, it's probably not going to take you very far. My humble opinion from doing this for the last 6 years is that ultimately what makes a great creator is a person who is determined to create value. And like, I know that's my personal goal, and there have been seasons where I could not do that as effectively. I got really sick there for a period, like after we moved here, and you guys, you know, that have been with me for a long time, you were here for that. And thankfully, I have a very faithful audience that really stuck with me when I didn't have as much value to share. I shared what I could. There was value in it, but it wasn't maybe as valuable as what had been in the previous season. For some people, it might have been more valuable. I don't know, but after kind of getting more well, my focus came back to how can I create value? For people who are focusing on how can I get views, how can I get subscribers, how can I do this, create value, that's just 100% always going to be the answer, because you are a content creator. And therefore, if you are creating content, what value does your content have? And so really assessing, sorry, I keep touching my face. I keep thinking that there's still sheep poop on it. Really assessing how you can grow as a creator and how much you can grow your content's value. There are so many things that we can do to grow, and a lot of people want to go straight to buying better equipment. Outgrow the equipment that you have. That's why I say start with an iPhone. Outgrow that. Once you outgrow that, do all the growth you can without spending money before you spend money. Because ultimately what a lot of people do is they spend a whole lot of money and then they don't grow in the areas that are free but harder. They don't become more comfortable on camera. They don't honestly assess how they are portraying themselves, what they're teaching, what they're sharing. They're not actually looking at that, and they're so focused on the wrong goals of hitting these little milestones or buying new equipment or whatever, that they don't ever get there. But if you will fully focus on growing yourself to create the best valuable offering possible, the other stuff will come. And so I'm not against the marketing and the sharing and the follow for follow, but if that is your marketing strategy, it's probably not going to be super effective if you are not coupling that with really focusing on continuing to be as yourself as you can be, creating the most value that you can. I'm not 100% sure about all that talking, but I do feel confident that I put my new camera through its paces, and I'll be able to tell you how I feel about it after this. You'll be able to see here what you think about it, whether this has worked with audio and visual, or if it really stinks, you'll never see it. So if you're seeing it, that is at least me thinking it's good enough to use. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and all the days you do. God bless you. Until next time.